What happens when a smart manipulator meets another smart manipulator? It sounds like the setup for a psychological thriller or maybe even a chess match where the pieces play themselves. But in reality, it's more common than we think, especially in places like workplaces, dating scenes, or high-stakes environments where charm, influence, and control are silently traded like currency. Most of us think of manipulators as puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes. But what happens when they realize the other person is pulling strings too? That's when things get interesting. Let's break it down. But first, a story. There were two marketing executives at a rising tech startup in Chicago, Maya and Jordan. Both in their late 20s, sharp, confident, well-spoken, and deeply strategic. They were the types of people who could read a room like a script and had mastered the art of influence without ever raising their voice. Maya was known for her subtlety. She wouldn't confront you directly. She'd just plant a seed of doubt in someone's mind and let it grow. She knew how to make people question their own judgment, and she could guide decisions in her favor, while making it seem like it was your idea all along. Jordan, on the other hand, had a more hands-on approach. He used charisma like a weapon. Compliments, casual flattery, knowing when to step back and when to lean in. He could make you feel like you were the smartest person in the room, until you realized later he'd led you exactly where he wanted. The company announced a new leadership role for a major campaign. Both Maya and Jordan set their eyes on it. That's when the psychological duel began. At first, it was subtle. Maya casually mentioned to the team during a coffee break that Jordan seemed a little distracted lately. Probably just the stress, she said with a smile. Within a few days, whispers started going around that Jordan was burning out. Jordan picked up on it quickly. Instead of retaliating directly, he began boosting Maya in public meetings, just a little too much. He would say things like, "Honestly, Maya should be leading this. She always gets what she wants." It sounded supportive, but it painted her as manipulative without ever saying the word. Maya responded by inviting junior teammates for lunch, charming them, listening to their ideas, building quiet loyalty. Jordan countered by scheduling one-on-ones with upper management, casually reminding them of past wins and dropping insights about Maya's quiet influence in a tone that sounded admiring, but wasn't. The campaign became a battleground, but not in the way most people expected. There were no shouting matches or open rivalries, just glances, comments, strategic silence, and invisible threads being pulled from behind the curtain. It wasn't war, it was psychological fencing. In the end, neither of them got the role. Management sensed something was off. The tension had spread across the team, collaboration dropped, and trust took a nosedive. The higher-ups brought in someone from outside the company. Neutral ground. The game ended in a stalemate. But both Maya and Jordan walked away with something deeper than disappointment. They had seen themselves reflected in the other. For the first time, each realized how transparent their strategies were to someone equally trained in the art of persuasion. The curtain had been pulled back, and the magician saw the strings. So, what actually happens when smart manipulators meet each other? Let's talk psychology. First off, you have to understand how manipulators operate. Smart manipulators don't rely on brute force or obvious control. Their tools are emotion, timing, and perception. They might gaslight, guilt trip, flatter, withdraw affection, over-communicate, or understate. They know when to say something and, more importantly, when to say nothing. But they also rely on one thing, the belief that the other person is less aware. That's the key. So when two smart manipulators face each other, that illusion breaks, fast. It becomes a mental chess match, each person watching the other, waiting for the next move, knowing exactly what's happening behind the curtain, behind the enormous. Now here's what actually plays out. First, there's mutual recognition, kind of like how two con artists can usually spot each other in a crowd. It's not something spoken, it's just a look, a vibe, a way the conversation flows. Both know that flattery isn't genuine, and both feel the other person measuring them up. From here, two paths usually emerge: collaboration or collision. Let's start with collaboration. Sometimes, smart manipulators see each other and think, okay, this person's dangerous, but useful. They form a kind of unspoken alliance. They agree, silently or directly, to work together, pool their skills, influence people together, and boost each other's moves. It's like two illusionists teaming up for a bigger show. But these alliances are almost always temporary, because deep down, they both know the truth. This person could betray me at any moment. It's not trust that holds them together, it's mutual benefit. The second that benefit disappears, so does the alliance. Now, if they go down the other path, collision, things get even more interesting. Instead of working together, they enter a power struggle, each one trying to dominate the narrative, control perception, and win control over the social or emotional environment. This can happen in friendships, romantic relationships, work settings, you name it. The manipulation becomes more subtle, more layered. For example, one person gives a backhanded compliment. The other responds with an even subtler insult disguised as praise. One person withholds information, the other pretends not to care while quietly gathering leverage. One tries to guilt trip, the other flips it around saying, "Wow, I didn't realize you felt that way. That must be tough." Now the guilt is reversed. These games can spiral quickly, and the people around them, they often don't see it, at least not right away. They just feel the tension, the odd mood, the subtle discomfort. But here's the catch: nobody really wins. Because when both players are constantly trying to control the board, trust vanishes. Authenticity is impossible. You're not in a relationship, you're in a game. Every word is a move, every silence is a calculation, every smile hides a motive. Eventually, someone walks away, either drained or bored, sometimes both. Let's also talk about ego. Manipulators often have a strong sense of pride in their ability to win without force. When they meet someone who's just as skilled, their ego takes a hit. They're used to being the smartest one in the room, the unseen director behind the scenes. Now, they've got competition. This often leads to subtle revenge tactics. One person might start undermining the other through mutual friends. Another might expose certain behaviors in a way that seems accidental, but is completely intentional. It's the psychological version of mutually assured destruction. So what can you take from this? If you ever find yourself dealing with someone you think might be a smart manipulator, and you feel like you're being pulled into a game, you have a few choices. 1. Don't play. The best way to counter manipulation is to not engage emotionally. Keep your boundaries tight, your communication clear, and your reactions neutral. 2. Be honest with yourself. If you find that you're also using manipulation, maybe as a defense, maybe out of habit, take a moment to ask why. It often comes from fear. Fear of being hurt, being vulnerable, or being seen as weak. And 3. Remember that the best kind of power is transparency. Influence doesn't have to be manipulative. You can lead, connect, and inspire without games. You don't need to pull strings when people trust your voice. Now back to Maya and Jordan. They didn't become friends, but they did learn to respect each other. Months after the campaign, Maya told a coworker, "Jordan taught me that I'm not as invisible as I thought." Jordan, when asked about Maya, just smiled and said, "That woman knows how to play the long game. I like that. But I also like when the game ends." Because here's the truth. When smart manipulators meet, the games don't get more fun. They get exhausting. Because once you realize you're not in control and neither is the other person, what's left? Two people, both pretending they aren't pretending. And that's not connection. That's just noise. So next time you feel like you're in a psychological tug-of-war, ask yourself, is this a conversation or a competition? Because not every battle is worth winning, and not every victory feels like one. Thanks for watching. If this topic made you think differently about how people interact, or even how you interact, drop a comment and let's talk about it. And hey, if you've ever dealt with someone like this, share your experience. No names, no judgment, just the real story. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on more deep dives like this. Stay smart, stay kind, And if someone tries to play mind games with you, smile, walk away, and keep your peace. Because the real power is knowing when not to play. If you're into psychology and understanding how the mind works, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more.